to Open Heart Conversations with your host, Neek. I know it's been a while since I probably posted a video, but I I don't know, like sometimes I feel like maybe I shouldn't share everything. Sometimes I feel, I don't know, a lot of the times I'm in my head, and I mean, I write a lot. I make like different videos throughout the time or throughout the course, but I haven't really released them, and it's because sometimes I try to make sure, once again, trying to be a perfectionist, but sometimes it's hard to share yourself with somebody. It's hard to share what you go through. It's hard to like just be open about certain things. I've always been very closed off. I share what I want to be shared, and I keep back what I don't want to be shared. And sometimes, a lot of times we don't allow people to really get to know who we are, because sometimes we feel like it may be too much for them, or we feel like they can't really handle the real me, or if I give you the real me, will you appreciate me, will you love me, will you care about me, or will you just walk away from me? And I think that's something that I battle with a lot, because I would love to open myself up. I would love to be just vulnerable and just me, which I am me. I'm very authentic, I'm very open, but I'm very careful. And so I think sometimes that becomes like my downfall with a lot of different things. But I just was like, you know what, forget that. I'm about to make this video because I don't want to stop. I want to be consistent, and I want to continue to do what I'm supposed to be doing. And so lately, like for probably the last couple of weeks, I have literally been in a war. And I'm not just saying like a war with like real fighting and this and that, but it's been like a spiritual war. God has released some things to me. God has shown me some things, and God has even answered prayers that I've been praying for a while. But once again, the enemy comes in and he tries to make you feel, or tries to discredit your blessings. He tries to make you feel as if, you're not worthy enough, or you're not worth it, or just a lot of different things. And I've been fighting a lot. He's been using my kids, because they have really been getting on my nerves, like they arguing, just a lot of different things, just to come at me, to try to discourage me, to try to get me off path, to try to get me to just like give up. And like I've told you in my first video, I refuse to give up. I just refuse to give up. Like I'm pushing all the way to the end, no matter what. And I think that's why the enemy is fighting me so hard, because a lot of the times, like I sit back and I have to literally have conversations over and over and over and over and over with God, because it's not easy at all. It has been a war, like mentally, emotionally, just a lot. And so I have to make sure I stay connected to God. And this faith walk ain't no cakewalk. It really ain't. And I say that ain't. And I know that's like probably improper English, but this is exactly what it is. And sometimes you have to call it just what it is. But it's not a cakewalk. It has been very hard. It's some things that I feel God has been leading me to do and telling me to do. And don't get me wrong, I do it. But I think so much about it before I do it, or I question myself so much after I do it. And a lot of the times, God is asking us to make steps. God is asking us to do certain things, but we question it, or we sit back because it doesn't make sense, or we sit back and we don't do it. But obedience has been very, very, very important when it comes to, just really doing what God wants me to, and to the blessings that God has for me. And even when I take those steps, a lot of the times God reveals so much to me, or he has preparations, or he has provisions waiting for me. And a lot of times I sit back and I ask God, like, why would I make that step? If I do that, then I'm gonna lose this, or I'm gonna do this, or this and that. And God is just saying, like, make the step. If you make the step, then you will figure out why, or you'll know why, or I'll release this to you, or I'll reveal this to you, but just make the step. And a lot of the times when we don't take a step, we miss out on what was on the other side of that step. We miss out on what God has for us. We even mess up sometimes the blessings that God has to store on us, or give to us, if we don't take that step. That's why it's faith. It's like faith is the substance of things hoped for, not the evidence of things seen. I see a lot in the natural. I mean, not in the natural. I see a lot in the spiritual, but in the natural, it does not make sense. I question it. Like a lot of things just don't make sense to me. And it's so hard when you're really making faith steps and things around you don't even match up to what you're doing. Things around you don't even match up to just a lot of different things that God has told me, or, I felt like God has laid on my heart to do, or God has given me. It just does not make sense to me. It's like, it's really not making sense. And it's like, you taking faith steps when you're so used to having control, and taking faith steps and following God is when you surrendering all your control. And man, this is not easy at all. Like, I make different journals throughout the day, like video journals of certain ways that I feel about certain stuff, and I insert some of those clips towards the end of this. But when surrendering your control to just to surrender your control, for one, is hard. It is very hard. It's like, I've never been in situations where I could surrender my control. I will always be in control, and for some reason it doesn't work for me. It has not really worked out for me, but it works out better because I know what's my end goal. I know what's gonna happen, or it's just so many different things. But now it's just like being in a place to where you're being pushed to do certain things and you just really don't understand. A lot of stuff doesn't match. A lot of the stuff doesn't make sense, and so it's like it keeps you in a headspace to where you're questioning, and you're trying to be hopeful, or you're trying to like push forward, but it ain't always easy. It's not always, as hyped up as people try to hype it up. But I know that, the more I seek God and the more that I do the things that God is asking me to do, it's getting me closer and closer to those things that I pray for, and closer to those things that He has in store for me. So I refuse to give up. I refuse to walk away. And it's just like, I guess it's just the feeling part of it is hard because I'm used to doing so much. And it's crazy because it's like the growth mindset that I have now, and the growth that I've attained, is crazy because it's like the growth in me, is continuously elevating, but it's like the old me continues to like try to engulf and eat it up, you know, because I've changed in so many different ways. My mindset is so different. Just it's a lot of different things about me. And it's like the old me wants to try to come in and try to, like, that's the enemy. I know it is. But the old me wants to come, and it's like, if you do it like this, or I don't think you should do that, so that's stupid. Why would you do that? Just all type of stuff trying to make me just like go back to my old ways. And it's hard because when you have been trained and taught so much, it's hard to like shift into the new because you're so used to the old, and the new is so it's you can't see. I can't see. You know what I'm saying? I can see if when I talk to God and I go into the spiritual side of it, I can see so much further. But it's just like when I come back into the natural, it's just like this is not matching up. I get sometimes I lose hope because it's just like it's not making sense to me. But even when I pray about it, God revelates so many different things to me. The more I'm connected to God, the more I talk to God, the more I stay focused on God, the more it makes sense. The more things just like seem to like fall into place. It's like a puzzle, you know what I'm saying? You putting the pieces together, but the pieces are just coming, you know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna get no puzzle that's put together. But it's like I gotta put the puzzle together. So God is literally putting my pieces, are helping me put the pieces together, and it's starting to make sense in some areas, but in some areas this thing is just, it's a blind side. And so I'm just like, I try to stay focused, I try to stay in my word, I just trying to stay hopeful of everything. So I encourage anybody, if God is telling you to do something, if God is leading you to do something, if God has placed something on your heart to do, go for it. It may not make sense now. It just may not seem like the right thing to do in your natural mind. But if God is leading you to do it, because obedience is a sacrifice, but it's worth everything, every single thing. take the steps. You know what I'm saying? I don't have evidence of everything, but I have confidence that God is going to come out top. God is going to come out on top for me. I feel like God is going to lead me to every single thing that He has in store for me. God is going to answer many more prayers, and He's going to give me more boldness and confidence about the things that He's already released to me. I won't have to continue to go back and question this and that, because a lot of the times we question what God gives us, but God gives us certain stuff. Even if we don't feel like we deserve it, God believes and feels like we deserve it. So it's like a lot of the times I have to believe it in my mind in order for it to make sense. You know what I'm saying? I have to believe myself. Like, if you don't believe in something, or if you don't believe something, how do you expect it to feel like, I don't know. How do you expect it to be if you don't even believe it? It's like we'll sabotage every single thing that we get if we continuously sit back and question, oh, do I deserve this? I don't think that this is for me, or I just don't, like, this is too good to be true. If it was too good to be true, it would not be happening. So you got to think positive. You got to pray about it. You got to ask God, take everything back to God, talk to God about it, stay in solitude, those moments of quiet, those moments of peace, so that you can hear from God, because God is not going to shout. God is not going to be louder than what's going on around you. God is waiting for you to give Him an opportunity to sit back and talk to Him. And so if you don't give Him those moments of solitude where you sitting back and you having conversations with Him, I mean, how can you hear it if you're not listening? If you're not sitting there, if you're not waiting for it, if you're not seeking for it, it'll never come to you, because a lot of times we're waiting for stuff to drop on us. But I do a lot of studying. I go after a lot of what I want. And it's by me seeking God and seeking, just going and studying certain things, trying to figure out, this is what I want. So if this is what I want, then I got to prepare myself for it. If this is what I want, then I have to do the extra work, you know what I'm saying, to get towards it, or to even get it, because a lot of times you got to prepare for what you're praying for. You have to prepare for those different things. So right now I'm working on a lot of different things, and sometimes it feels like, I in my mind I think, and it's like, sometimes this is hopeless. Like, why am I even doing this? Like, and then I go back to the place, I'm like, maybe I should get comfortable where I am. But then I know that ain't nobody but the enemy, because ain't no comfort in where I am now. And so I pray a lot about that, because like I said, enemy is very, very, very sneaky. And so you just have to be aware of his character to know and understand who he is and how he operates, to be able to see it specifically and be like, you know what? This ain't nobody but the enemy. And then it's like, at that moment, you got to start declaring and praying against it, because if not, it'll engulf you. So I'm learning that, like, big time. I pray a lot. I stay in my word. I connect with God on everything, because I definitely cannot do this by myself. And if you think that you can do it by yourself, then power to you, good luck. Because I promise you, it's been plenty of times that, I wanted to give up. But if it wasn't for God, I would have gave up a long time ago. And I be trying to throw the towel in, but God literally just throws it back and hits me in the face and tells me over and over, girl, you ain't giving up. Like, you've come too far. You're closer than you think you are. You're closer than you ever been. Like, do not give up. And I'm not going to allow you to give up. So I just have to keep pushing, keep going. And I just have to do what God tells me to do. So just keep going. Don't give up. Don't allow your circumstances to get to you. Don't allow your circumstances to overtake you. Sometimes you just, like, most of the time, all the time, you just got to focus on God. Continue to focus on God, and God will lead you to those places. Ask for direction. Ask for guidance, wisdom, knowledge. Ask Him. You know what I'm saying? What you need to be doing, because God gives you the gift, and how dare you get the gift and think that you can you can run this, like, you how can you get something that comes with a manual? And let's say God is the manual, but how can you get the gift and not read the manual? And the manual is God. God is going to give you the direction. God is going to give you everything that you need, but you got to seek Him continuously. You can't just get something and think that you're going to do it the way you want to do it, because you ain't going to keep it long. You're not going to have it long. So I seek God for everything. I seek God in anything that I feel like. I go to Him for everything. Let's put it like that. I go to Him for everything. So just keep hope. Don't give up. And because I'm not gonna give up, man. We can do this together, like for real. And so I'm gonna be more open, I'm a little more open, because I feel like sometimes when I hear other people be open, it helps me out a lot. It gives me more strength and it gives me more push to keep going. So I'm gonna be more open with my journey and more open with the things that I go through daily, because this is definitely not easy. It's not easy, but I know in the end it's going to be worth it. So keep your eyes open, your head up, and if nobody tells you, God loves you, and so do I.